Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. My name is Janet Ashford, and I'm the Executive Director with College Sector Employment Service. Thank you for joining us today. Our webinar, Interview Tips, that's going to be facilitated by Sailing Tenney, and Sailing is with Seneca College. Thank you, Sailing, for facilitating today. So just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. To the right of the screen is a questions panel. Please feel free to pose any questions you may have for Sailing. And my role throughout will be to check those messages and relay them to her as we go. So again, thank you for joining us. I'm going to pass everything over to Sailing and hope you enjoy this new webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Good morning, and thank you for joining our webinar today on interview tips. Hopefully, you will take a few tips away from this webinar, and that will be helpful to you. Okay, let's start. So there are so many types of interviews. The first three types: telephone interview, live video interviews, and recorded video interviews are more for pre-screen. For the traditional face-to-face interviews, of course, the face-to-face interviews could be one-on-one or one-on a few of the interviewers. And there are other types of interviews that we're not going to get into today. We have their group interviews. Usually that's for a large group of job applicants, so they'll divide them into groups, and each group will get interviewed at the same time. And there are also assessments, and sometimes they're run as assessment days, and there will be a series of tests for people, and a lot of times that sometimes it's for, say, graduating class and people from the same level, same college, universities, and they will take the tests together, but could be other groups as well. Mini interviews are there are examples like for healthcare professionals. They will go into a few of the situation rooms and get tested on how they will handle different types of emergencies or issues, health issues. And auditions are a lot of times for artists, musicians, and people like performers. Today, we're going to talk about more focus on the traditional face-to-face interviews. Interview do's, there are a list of things that we should do before the interview. It could be a week or 2 weeks even before the interview. We need to do our homework. We need to do our research on the industry, the company, and be well prepared. And you need to know a lot of details about the companies, what they do, what product services they have, what challenges they have, or what success they have, so you can ask questions. And sometimes they will ask you questions. What do you know about us? So we need to be prepared for that. Mock interviews are always a good idea to do many times before the interview. You need to rehearse your key points and your accomplishments. You can do this with the employment services staff at the agency or your college or universities. But you can also do this with your friends and families, even over Skype, over phone. Do as many as possible and get the honest feedback. You're not looking for people to say, oh, that's great, that's fine. No, you're looking for people who's going to give you some red marks and negative feedback. They're not afraid to give you negative feedback, and that's how you will learn. During the interview, so this is an interview day, we need to make a good initial impression. Be on time, professional, dress properly, prepared, and positive. When does the interview start? It starts as soon as you walk in the door of the building. it starts when you talk to the receptionists, secretaries, because they're important part of the company. A lot of times, the bosses will ask for their opinion about their impression of the people who are looking for work there. So that's very important. We need to be at our best to everybody once we're there. We need to greet all the interviewers when we first get into the door. If possible, shake their hands, find out what their names are, remember them, and ask questions using their names. And we need to maintain eye contact to all the interviewers, not just the person talking to you most of the time. Remember, why we're there is we want the job. So we need to focus on their needs and demonstrate that you can do something for them. Okay, not how good I am, how good I am, how good I am, but if they can make that connection of your skills to meet their needs, then it's really not very important. Okay? Important to be yourself, relax, and keep calm. Once we panic, I know when I panic, I make mistakes and I speak quickly and I don't know what I'm talking about. So it's very important to keep calm, collected, so you can think properly and be organized in your answers. We need to answer each question directly, which means that we need to listen carefully what they're asking first before you answer. I had experience with that. I was doing a mock interview and asking a question, and what I got was like a prepared answer, but not really directing to my question, so that you will miss a point that way. Okay, so we don't dump the whole thing there thinking I'm going to cover everything. No, you have to be focused, directed to the question they're asking, and if possible, support your answer with a concrete example, and that will be more powerful and more like bringing us your personal in accomplishment. At the end of the interview, when an interviewer say, okay, this concludes our interview, don't just run out of the door and say, torture's over, I'm going to get out of here. No. What we need to do is we need to control and close the interview properly ourselves. First, we need to know what is the next step. Is it 2 weeks? Is it 3 weeks? Are you going to call people back for second interviews, or they're going to select the right candidate? We need to know that, if at all possible, get that answer from them, and from at least one person interviewing you, you would like to get the name and contact information and get their approval that you can contact them if you have questions in the future. And then you thank them, okay? So we need to close the interview properly, letting them know, I'm interested in the job, and thank you very much for the opportunity. After the interview, within 24 hours, is best, based on a lot of research, that we send thank you letters. They do matter to the hiring managers or the recruiters. If possible, mention something special about the interviewers so they can remember who you are. And this thank you letter doesn't have to be something you send in the mail. It could be an email. Okay. Email, my personal opinion is more timely and more efficient. So you do it right away, that you receive it within 24 hours, and that sort of makes the most impact. After each and every interview, we need to sit down to learn from this interview. So we need to at least do 3 positives to 3 negatives so we can improve and be better next time for our next interview. Don't lose that opportunity to learn from your own interview. And follow up is when, if they say 2 weeks, they're going to call you for anybody for a second interview they want to talk to. If 2 weeks gone by, maybe the 3rd week, near the end of the 3rd week, you should follow up and see what's going on. Good or bad, I personally would like to get the bad news so I can just kind of, okay, and carry on and go to the next interview. Okay, so we need to follow up. And the following are some interview don'ts, because they're going to make you look either uncomfortable, not confident, or overconfident, or demanding. Okay, so if we do these, that's going to make us look like with a negative picture. Don't discuss a list of your demands. You don't have a job yet, so it's not a place to negotiate anything, your benefits, your PD, or anything like that. When you get the job offer, then that's the time you negotiate. If we now bring in a list of things that we want, then you will send a very negative message to them. Don't spend time on something that's not relevant. Although I might be proud of my university achievements for sports or team sports, soccer, hockey, or whatnot, but I'm not going to talk about it because I want to focus on the most relevant accomplishments, and don't keep going on and on and on when we answer, or putting a little extra here, extra there when we answer. These things, they can tell you're not being truthful and you're not being organized. I had mock interviews. At the beginning of the interviews, the new immigrants would say, "My English is poor." So immediately you're giving them weakness that you're not even asked to give. And that is not necessary. When they consider you, they talk to you, they will know whether your English is sufficient or not for your job. Okay, so we don't need to bring up these weaknesses. Yourself will not ask. Anything they ask, if you say, "I don't know," that's 0 point for you. So if there's something, some technology, software, any sort of skill that you don't have experience with, you can tell the truth, but then follow on. But I have experience in this, which is similar to this technology. Or I never work with this technology, however, I study at school. And so I'm familiar with it, although I don't have working experience with it. Okay? So I don't know is something that we should avoid. And like I said before, when they say at the end of the interview, don't leave. You want to close properly. You want to tell them, "I am very interested in this position because of this," or "based on our conversation, I think I'm a good fit." Just 2 sentences to tell them that you're interested. You want to work for them. Okay?
So Céline, I do have a
Yeah.
question when you're ready.
Yes.
So
Question.
when would you inquire about a salary during the interview if it's not brought up by the interviewer?
I wouldn't think you should bring it up yourself. If that's one question that for them to bring up and you to prepare, But if they don't bring it up during the whole interview, I don't think it's our place to bring up the question about the salary. Okay, but one thing is you can research for the salary, like a market rate, and if it's not posted, right? And I just don't think it's the right thing for you to bring it up yourself, because that's like a demanding, you're one of the demands. That's just my opinion.
Okay, just at that stage, not. Okay.
No, not at interview stage.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. Doesn't matter what kind of interview questions you get, easy one, commonly asked questions, or uncommon questions, difficult ones. There is a purpose for each question, okay? And commonly the purpose is to see whether you're a fit, either professionally or personally, for their organization. And also, how do you handle how do you handle stress or anything unexpected? And whether you can think on your feet and answer genuinely to unstructured questions. So you really have to think on your feet. And I have one situation when after university, I applied for this job and went for the interview. The setup of the interview is like a big window with sun shining into the window. There are five interviewers sitting right in front of the window, and I'm about 10 feet away from them, facing them. So that was intentional. They wanted to put me in an uncomfortable situation, and I was feeling uncomfortable. But how did I handle that? They want to see. They want to observe. They want to ask you questions, and they want to ask you tough questions that you don't expect, and see more like your reaction, how you handle them, than the real answer. Okay, so there are different purposes so sometimes when you think, why would they ask me that? There is a purpose, and that's probably the purpose. See how you handle all these uneasy situations. When answering questions, we will also use the STAR technique, which a lot of you might be familiar with. Sometime with your answers, you need to state a situation, describe something that happened in the past, and also your job requires you to do for this situation, and actually action that you took to complete the task. It could be different than a defined task or required task. If it's different, then you have to explain why it's different, and also the result, the end result. So we use the STAR situation. Sometimes it could be very effective when you answer questions like, what is your greatest weakness? Right? So your weakness is a problem, and how do you solve it? Okay, so we'll come to that a little bit later. And just remember the STAR technique when you go to interviews ask a question where you have to define a problem and a solution, the actions in between. I'm going to go through a few common questions and give you some sort of samples. One common question, almost all interviews, a lot of them start by asking you, tell me about yourself, giving you a little history or work experience, something similar to it. What are they looking for when they ask you this? First, they want to see how you see yourself as a professional, not what other people see you, but you, what you see yourself as a professional. Okay? And you understand what are the important requirements of this job, so you can put that in your answer to relate yourself to the job, and you understand their culture. So you've done your research, culture, what the company is about. So you're going to fit into their organization with the same values. And your accomplishments, what you're going to talk about, your greatest accomplishment, is going to meet the needs of the company or the job. Okay. So these are the things, when they ask you that, that's what they're looking for. So when we answer, we need to match with what they expect to hear. Without disclosing confidential information, describe what you did as a professional or what you do as a professional. I'm a project coordinator with over 5 years of experience and leading these projects in these 2 companies, and I've worked with clients including Staples and other companies. So this is name dropping, only if you're allowed to do that. Right? But if you name drop, you could do that. You do it, then they know what sort of magnitude your projects might be involved in, right? Instead of a small company, you're dealing with big companies. Okay. So remember, we can only say things that we're allowed to say. So you have to check with whether they're confidential or not. And you look at the needs of a company and you highlight the accomplishments, because in our past work history or our school education, we might have quite a few of great achievements, right? But we want to pick the ones that's going to match their needs the most. I'm dedicated and passionate about marketing, so my top priority is customer service. And then after all that, talk about it. For example, we're giving the example now, more concrete. I coordinated a new marketing campaign with a tight schedule, and I completed this on time as a project lead. Okay, so that hopefully meet the needs of the company, or the job requirement you're looking for. And part 3 of tell me about yourself, you persuade them that you're a fit and you really want to work with them. You want to stay with them. You want to grow with the organization because your values align with theirs. I always want to work for a nonprofit organization, and your organization's creating opportunities for these people in the communities. And I apply for this position because I would like to make a difference as part of your team. So that gives you a big reason that you want to work for them, okay? Because you agree with that, their values. All right. The next one, this is one of the more difficult ones. And one of my clients came back and say, well, I got my first greatest weakness. I got through and very nicely with a STAR technique. And then they asked me, what's the next one? What's your second weakness? And he got stuck. He couldn't think of anything. So as a result, these days, I usually say, not just one weakness, maybe try 2. And then give them the most appropriate one first, okay? So why do they want to ask you what your greatest weakness is? They want to know that you are constantly looking at yourself and try to assess your ability, and you are aware of your weaknesses. And also you are able to listen to other people and learn from their feedback. So that is also very important for your learning process, okay? However, we have different weaknesses. And we want to avoid mentioning weaknesses which impede your working performance directly. Okay? So if I'm a party planner, my organizational skill shouldn't be my weakness. Right? That's directly impacting my job performance. So choose your weaknesses that's not really going to hurt you in a job. And you describe a weakness that you already made an improvement on. Not totally, getting rid of it, but improve on it, okay? So that's using the STAR technique. One example here is I used to leave studying or schoolwork until last minute in university. I become more disciplined and learn to schedule my time effectively. I give my supervisor and co-workers for being good models and mentors. Now I can manage time efficiently even with heavy workload. So I'm much improved in that area. And this also shows that I didn't do it all by myself. I seek help and people give me help, and I'm willing to listen and learn from them. Okay, so that sort of thinking of working on your weakness as a teamwork. Okay. Future. Well, where do you want to be in 5 years or 3 years? Okay, so if you cannot think of what you want to be in 5 years, you could say, I haven't really thought about it so far, but I have some sort of plan for the maybe next 3 years. Then you can say that, can modify the question a little bit, okay? And because the key is they just want to know what your future, what do you have to plan for your future? So what do they want to know? Are you planning to stay for a while? Are we in part of your plan? Okay. Do you have realistic goals and expectations for your career? Is it realistic? From today to 5 years from now, you want to be a director or district manager, right? So all that taking into account what you're saying, they're going to assess your answers. Does this position align with your goals? So when you're talking about your future goals, is this position going to be part of your plan? Or the positions above that, or the positions about that? So you really have to go into the company and look up this role and also the roles above. Is that going to be reasonable for your to be your future? In the next few years, I like to be seen as someone with in-depth skills and take on more leadership role. I'd like to lead projects from planning to executing. I'm really excited in the opportunities your company provides. So you're including the company, their jobs as part of your picture. And that's what you want to do. My advice to some of my clients is that we don't want to use titles, job titles in this specifically. Use more like the job opportunity, like responsibilities instead of a hard title. Because titles sometimes don't mean a lot from company to company, but responsibility is more specific and something that they can make a better assessment out of. So why should we hire you? And it's not a strange question, because they want to know your own assessment. Why should they hire you? So they want to know that are you the right person? I want to know that you understand and the company culture and the values, and you are genuinely interested in this job. Okay, that all based. They're gonna want to hear that from your answer. So this is a sample answer. If team is repeated in a company website and job description, I'm going to address this in my answer. I have over 5 years experience as a project lead, working with multidisciplinary team members, working closely with team members in organized, coordinated fashion, resulted in the success of our projects. Okay, so team is my emphasis here. And I'm going to give an example. My biggest achievement was this project when we completed millions of dollars of business application on time and 5% under budget. I worked with 20 different members in 3 locations, and we overcame the challenge we face of having different locations and different people in different background organizations, and everybody having this unique perspective, which means everybody had their own interests. Okay. So to encourage collaboration and building, so you're telling them actually something you did to make it fun, and also for the team to gel together. You organize fun activities on this company property and outside of company property. So people became friends and working closely together as friends. Okay. If you think it's appropriate, you have to make the call, and sometimes you can turn the answer into a conversation relevant to what you can do for them. If you feel that's the special skill that you have, then you can turn this into more of a conversation. Okay. I noticed on the website that you have a lot of projects. Are some of these team members external business associates or clients? So you're turning that in a question, a conversation, discussion that you guys can talk about in the interview about your strengths of how you can get all different people together on the same team. Another one is usually towards the end. They ask you a lot of questions and you have a lot of answers for them. And at the end, they say, do you have any questions for us? Okay. And then here are tips. 1 or 2 questions. My suggestions is prepare at least 3 questions. Reason being, 1 might have already been discussed previously in the interview, and 1 might be more appropriate than the other one, more relevant. So you can choose 1 or 2 questions. Never a yes or no or a straight number and short answer question. Always open-ended, because you want to hear stories from them. You want them to tell you about the company, tell you about a job. And so keep that open. How is a good question. Why is a good question? Because that opens the door for a complex answer. Ask about the job, the company, the interviewer, and yourself. If you want to know how you're doing with the interview, or how your qualification meet with your requirements, you can ask about that. But don't ask about personal life, benefits, or something complex, which means I have a question with 3 parts. That's not a question to ask in an interview. Okay? Don't ask complex questions. All right. So here are some questions that you might ask. So what's a typical day like? So they will explain to you maybe, you know, 2 hours of meetings and 3 hours you're on the phone with customers. So you have a better idea how a day would look like for this job. What's the makeup of the team? You have a project leader, 2 lead developers, 2 testers, and the business analysts. So you have a pretty good, better idea than a job description will give you. What kind of job is this? What do you like the most about your job? So this is what you're asking the interviewer about their career, their jobs, and why they love the company, that love the job, and how did they get to this point as a manager, okay? Then what are the company's goals? And also you can talk about something that you discussed earlier in the interview that you want to ask a question about, okay? So all these questions are questions for you. It's to your, for your benefit, for you to gain useful information from them. So if you think of it from that perspective, then that's easy for you to decide what kind of question you want to ask. Never ask anything that's already in the website or in the job description. That will show that you haven't done much work to prepare for the interview. What is your salary expectation? So this is coming from them. They're asking you, okay, how would you address the salary question? We need always, before the interview, to do our own research, and we know the going rate, the market rate, from other postings, from the research you've done with all the data they have of that specific job. Instead of a number, we always prepare a range. So you give them room for negotiation, for them to compare you against others, okay? And in early part of the interview, establish your value. So when you talk about the salary expectation, they will say, yes, I agree, because I've heard your accomplishments, achievements, your skills, experience, and those meet your expectations, okay? If you haven't established that value, then when it comes to this point, they will say, okay, this is a bit high for what you told me, right? So we really have to put a lot of meat in our answers earlier in the interview. Okay, here's a note. In some parts of US, it's illegal for the interviewer to ask about current past salaries to prevent companies from reducing salary offers. And in a lot of cases, and that will keep the gap between the women and men, the wage difference, as not getting smaller, okay? So possibly in the future in Canada, we'll have regulation policy like that as well. And there are lots of other common questions that you will see in the interview, but the key is the same. Be yourself and honest, sincere, and you'll be fine. And focus, okay, in your answers. What did you enjoy mostly about your last job? How would your team members describe you as a person? How were you interested in this position? What do you know about us? Just think about the answers that you might want to give for these questions. Okay, uncommon questions. There are a lot of uncommon. They can ask you whatever they want as long as they're legal, okay? So there are But the whole thing, the point is they want to see you're a fit. So don't just expect the unexpected going into the interview. Then you won't feel so bad when they ask you something you never heard before. And for example, who are your heroes and why are they your heroes? And some people get stuck on this or anything similar to that. But just think about your friends and family. They don't have to be people who are famous, okay? And the value, why they are. So when you have an answer for any of these uncommon questions, you must have a reason for it. Don't just give the answers without reason, right? So if you're invited to climb this, the highest mountain in Africa, would you accept the invitation? So it's not necessarily that you have to say, yes, I would. There's no right or wrong answer, but tell them why, okay? If you came across evidence of a coworker's unethical behavior in business dealings, how would you deal with the situation? Again, for everybody, this will be different. I have one example is that I know that someone I used to work with a long time ago, she got fired because she was printing flyers for her own business in the office hours, like in the evenings. And it happened to be a manager was in the printer room and she got fired. So if I were in there, I probably wouldn't have reported her and get her fired because I was just an employee. I would probably say, hey, do you know that you're not supposed to do that? Stop doing it, okay? So depending on your situation, your position, your responsibilities, you might do different things, but give them a reason. Situational question. If you were a project leader and a team member was consistently missing crucial deadlines, would you approach him or her? We probably all have this experience. Probably not as a project leader, but as a member of the team. Okay, it's frustrating, but how would you deal with this situation? Right? What would you do in your first week on a job? So this is more like, what are your business communication skills? Okay, I remember my first job ever I got, the first week I was reading all the manuals, but that's not a good thing to do, right? Because you need to make connections. People are your most valuable resource in the business. So a lot of times you say, I don't know the answer. What do I do? I don't know the answer. I don't. Stay calm. Anytime you panic, then your head, my head would just go crazy. I wouldn't think of anything. You don't have the answer right away, okay? Ask for clarification. Sometimes you understand the question, but asking for clarification is a delay tactic. You probably only need 2-3 seconds at a time for your brain to work out the answer, okay? And that's what you're asking for. If you still don't have an answer, ask for a few seconds to organize your thoughts. And that's allowed. And there might not be a correct answer. However, this can only be done once in an interview when it's really difficult. If using more than once, they will get frustrated, right? The interviewers get frustrated. So use it wisely, but when you really need it, use it. Okay, we're looking at body language. That's so a big part. I wish I have more time to talk about body language, but I don't. When you stand, you cross your arm, you tilt your head, you tilt your body. These are all signs of your lack of confidence. Okay, not comfortable. I don't want to talk to people. I prefer not to be here. Okay, that's all the signals you're sending to people. And the other way is this tend to be more like men aggressive. So not open for communication, they're intimidating. So it's very hard to approach a person like that. Okay? So that is on the other side, extremes, or two extremes. In the middle, well, we want to be confident. We want to be balanced and from head to toe, and shoulders be back and relaxed and center. Okay, that gives a message. I'm open to communicate. I would like to talk to you. And that's what we want to send as a message in interviews. When we're sitting down, one sign that you're not interested, you're leaning back into your chair. You want to sit farther away from the people you're talking to. So you're not interested, you don't want to interact, you don't want to participate. And on that side is uncomfortable. So you're frowning, you're touching your face, you have nervous habits, tilting your head. You're not comfortable. So in the middle part here, interested, sitting forward, tiny little bit, leaning slightly towards, I'm interested, I want to talk to you. And everything is balanced and feet on the floor, hands are open, not exaggerating hand movement, but you can make hand movement with hands open. Center, everything center, and signal to the people, I'm open to communicate and willing, I want to participate. So that's what we want to send in the interview, the message. If you're interested, there's a very good TED Talk by Amy Cuddy, and it's one of the most popular TED Talks there are. It's about your positive body language. Your body language actually will affect who you are, how you feel. Okay? If you have positive body language, you will tend to have a more positive attitude. Okay? So I encourage you to go search for this TED Talk and enjoy watching it. Each interview is a learning experience I talk about. When we do evaluation of our interviews, we need to write things down, not just thinking ahead. Writing things down, make it more concrete and make it a record. And then you can tell yourself, yes, I've done better this time, or no, I'm still struggling with this. So there's something must be done, okay? So evaluation assessment, key, very key to your success in interviews. Just last week, I read this article, I'm quoting from this article. Just picture yourself as an incredible success, okay? Optimism will help you to be more confident. Once you're confident, you can see more opportunities for yourself. Okay? Otherwise, if you're not confident, you can't see those opportunities. So how do we become more confident or optimistic? We want the suggestions this author made. You read books, motivational, you watch movies or documentaries at motivational, listen to motivational speakers, and also be with people who are more optimistic, are positive. Okay? And we all know there are people that always say, you can't do it, I don't think you should try it, and then if we spend so much time listening to them, we sure can't do anything, right? So we want to be with people, and volunteering is a great thing, because every time I go out volunteer, I find those volunteers just high-spirited, positive, just, I admire them. So I want to be like them. And then there are also TED Talks, the one that I talk about, but there are also a lot of inspirational stories told by a lot of people. So be you and believe in yourself And that is so important in job interviews and in job search in overall. Okay. There's some interview resources, Glassdoor. People go to interviews and they will post interviews for certain companies, organizations on Glassdoor, and you can take a look at the sample interview questions and comments and their tech talks. I really encourage you to go look into business communications to help you with the interview skills and how to present your ideas and how to be positive, confident, and share your idea with other people. Okay, I think that's it for today.
Well, thank you very much. That's a lot of information for us to digest. But I thank you, Sei-Ling, for providing us with all this information. And we'll just keep the lines open for a few minutes to see if there are any questions. And if not, we will close down. But again, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Again, hopefully, if we're hoping that this has been recorded automatically with GoToWebinar, and we will post it at some point on our website. So please be patient as we work through that. And again, no questions have come in, so I guess we can call it a wrap. We have 5 minutes to go, and again, a big thank you to Sei-Ling. Thank you for all of your efforts. This is really much appreciated. I know how much work you put into this, Sei-Ling, so I really
I love it.
Yeah, I know, and you do a good job. So thank you very much, everybody. Look forward to you joining us for upcoming webinars. Thanks now.
Thank you.